Now, COVID cases surge continues as metro cities continue to report that spike. Delhi has now reported over 27,000 cases in the last 24 hours and a concerning 40 COVID-linked deaths. Now, after a dip in the numbers for 4 days, Mumbai saw a sharp uptick of 16,420 cases in the last 24 hours. Now, new cases have crossed the 21,000 mark in Karnataka, whereas Bengaluru saw its cases jump by 50% in just a day, reporting over 15,000 cases. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Modi is set to hold a virtual COVID meet with all the chief ministers today. My colleague Alok now joins me live on the broadcast this morning. Alok, very good morning. Now, concerning rise in numbers, we also heard the Delhi Health Minister yesterday saying that, we are seeing some kind of a curve flattening, and that's something that is to look out for, and that's something which can be a welcome respite. But in the last 24 hours, so many cases reported from Delhi and also deaths. This is very, very concerning.
Well, yes, if you compare it with yesterday's figure and the 3 days before that, in fact, the figures were stagnated, and 20,000 that the number of cases were coming on the regular basis for past 3 days. But yesterday, the Delhi in fact shot up, and that also tells the story that the number of cases are still rising, and the spread is still very high in the national capital. The most concerning part is the number of deaths. If you see the last month, in the month of December, 9 deaths were reported. Overall, I'm talking about. But if you see this month so far, 133 deaths have been reported. In fact, yesterday 40 deaths came, and that was the scenario in the second wave in the month of July. So definitely, it's a cause of concern. What the government is saying, those who died, most of them were the comorbid patients, those who were affected with cancer or some serious diseases as well, and incidentally they got affected with the COVID. As of now, we have to get the response from the government. But right now, the number of cases are still very high in the national capital, and it's still telling the scenario that it's still increasing.
Right, Alok. Thank you so much for joining me on the broadcast early this morning. And from Delhi, let's now shift focus to Maharashtra. But before we do that, let's actually get you the numbers that we are talking about, the concerning numbers that I've been discussing with Alok as well. This is the spike that we have seen, 27,000 cases in the last 24 hours in the national capital, 40 COVID-linked deaths. And if we talk about Mumbai, after seeing a decline in cases in the last 4 days, it has seen a sharp uptick, and now it has gone ahead, reported 16,420 cases in the last 24 hours. Karnataka, on the other hand, has crossed the 21,000 mark, whereas Bengaluru alone has seen a jump by 50% in just a day in the number of COVID cases. It has now recorded about 15,000 cases in 1 day. We also know that Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be holding a virtual COVID meet with all the chief ministers this evening. He would be discussing about the COVID situation in the country, the steps that are being done to ensure that the virus doesn't spread further, and the kind of preparedness that we are to see on ground. All this will be discussed in that meeting with the Prime Minister, as he will be meeting virtually all the chief ministers of the states and union territories today. My colleague Disha Shah now joins me from Mumbai. Disha, now we're talking about the numbers. We did see a sort of respite in Mumbai because after being the worst hit city and also the entire state of Maharashtra, it did see, a slight dip in the number of cases. Now again, it has seen a sharp rise.
Well, that is right. After a consecutive drop of nearly about 4 days in Mumbai, we again saw the numbers going up yesterday as far as the daily COVID-19 cases are concerned. In the last, of course, this week we saw that how about Sunday onwards, till about Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we saw a consecutive drop in the COVID cases from 20,000 to nearly 11,000. And that was merely due to low testing, is what we understand. That was one of the major reason, is what the experts say, because the testing numbers really went down. So, the reason, of course, the Mumbai winters, which hit the city for 2 to 3 consecutive days, and secondly the weekend as well. So usually in these situations, the numbers tend to go low, and especially the last, of course. Drop we saw was because of the ICMR's new testing guidelines that only symptomatic patients can be tested. But however, yesterday we saw again a surge, a jump from 11,000 to merely 16,000 is what we understand, and with the testing being 67,000. So this, of course, concern still remains for the city. As we all know, that first and the second wave, definitely Mumbai was one of the hotspot as far as COVID is concerned, and it still continues to be in this particular year as well. Even the government has raised several concerns. Restrictions have been increased in the city as well as across the state. The state also recorded over 46,000 plus cases. This is merely the tally that we are looking nearly after 8 to 9 months. We haven't seen such figures at all, especially in the past year. So, of course, the authorities have mentioned about how to be extremely cautious, to be masked up, especially when you are out, and to maintain social distance and all the COVID protocols.